Hello Duelist, it's Tom Box here, coming at you with a deck profile of True Draco and Weathery, or Weather Painter. I'm going to call them Weathery, so just bear in mind I'm going to mix those two up. But for Weather Painter, True Draco, why the two decks? Well, True Dracos took a significant loss in the previous ban list. And, well, they don't exactly have the deck synergy they previously had before within themselves. However, they can synergize with Weather Painters because Weather Painters, like True Dracos, play with a lot of continuous spells and traps. Now, they have their own gimmick, of course, and we'll talk about their own mechanics in a bit, and we'll go into the detail as we go through the deck profile. But luckily, both decks play a lot of continuous spells and traps, and Masterpiece and monsters alike do enjoy continuous spells and traps quite a bit. The engine of the Weather Painter is fairly quick, and they don't exactly depend on the special summoning too much in terms of your own turn. So let's actually get into this. So the decks have very similar playstyles. Both decks are kind of controlled based, but of course the True Dracos are a bit more aggressive. Now we played 2 copies of Masterpiece and 1 Metatron 12. This is just flavor, okay? I am enjoying this card quite a bit just because it can be immune to basically everything, and dropping this on your opponent who's not ready for it and don't know how to deal with it, or don't know how to deal with the card that comes out after it, is amazing. And thanks to the Weather Engine is very fast at putting out continuous spells and traps. You can get 1 spell, 1 trap, and even a monster on the field basically in 1 turn. So that sets up the triple immune Metatron. We already know what Masterpiece does: pop a card during other player's turn by banishing a continuous spell and trap. Since the deck runs a lot of continuous spells and traps, you're going to find yourself full of ammo this time rather than previously when you're usually running out of ammo. But so for Metatron 12, I really enjoy this card because, okay, even though it doesn't have any on-field effects aside from being a very, very big beat stick, when it is destroyed by your opponent's card by battle or card effect, you can special summon out 1 fusion or a synchro or seize monster that is earth, water, fire, or wind. So basically no light or dark. But that is okay because there's a lot of hard to make monsters that are in the extra deck that you can summon with this. And I'll go into that when I go over the extra deck. And believe me when I say it's just pretty ridiculous of what you can do with this card, especially if you make a triple immune guy. Beating over a 3k beat stick that's triple immune kind of reminds me of the good old day of Towers. So you literally make a Towers S monster at this point. So that's the entire Draco engine. You're actually playing off of the big tributes this time. That's unlike previously. But into our Weather Painters, we have Weather Painter Snow. We run 3 copies of her because, aside from being a really cute monster, she is also the most important card of the deck. Also the most expensive card in the deck, I would say. Weather Painter Snow, when this card is normal summon, you basically put a weather spell trap from the deck onto the field face up. So it doesn't matter. So reminds you of the good old days of Dynamite Knight where you just activate a trap straight from the deck. Same idea. And the Weather Painters, let's just go over the generic effect that they all have, is that when they're banished for a weather effect, they can special summon themselves out during the next standby phase. And it is a special summon, so you can rechange the position. So the 0 stat does not matter as much. You can actually banish her and she'll come back in defense mode. So that's her advantage. And normally you'll search out the Weather Snowy Canvas, because that's also an additional search, so you can actually get a +2 by your opponent's standby phase. So she's one of the best cards to open with. You want to open with her. If you don't open with her, it's not too out of control. You can always play the Thunder. If you have a mix of True Draco spells and traps, and you have this card is not too bad to play with, especially because you can set 1 continuous spell or trap you control, including those pesky True Draco ones, into the graveyard, and then you can activate a weather spell trap from the deck straight onto the field. So you can get that activation. So you can basically swap them in and out, and if you use the True Draco effect, of course the True Draco effects do kick off and activate either popping a spell or trap or a monster. So this is a really good card to play, and this is also one of your beat stick, because the deck of Weathers, they're not exactly the strongest archetype in terms of stats. Now next up we have 1 Cloud and 1 Sun. Cloud I'm considering running 2 because Cloud, I realize it works very well with Masterpiece and Metatron. I didn't think that would be the case. Normally, from what people play, they go into Snow, into Thunder, Thunder into Cloud, and basically that's how they get the engine rolling. Now Sun is just a one-off right now. I'm actually considering cutting Sun because sometimes I just can't activate him. But Sun is when he's in the graveyard. You can send one continuous spell and trap to the grave to summon himself out in defense mode, but the only catch is you need to have a weather spell trap in your hand that you can activate as a part of his effect. It's a bit mandatory, and they kind of come out at the exact same time. Now, the Weather Painter Cloud, when a weather card you control is sent to the graveyard, you can take 2 weather spell traps in the graveyard and just activate them straight onto the field, which is why it works so well with the Masterpiece and Metatron. This card is quite amazing, I would say, and I'd love to get this effect off and then just keep one of the spells and traps I have available, that is True Draco, to give me the additional tribute summon. Trust me, it's absolutely worth it. Now, in terms of the format that we are currently in, the flavor of the month right now is still Spirals, Pendulum Magicians, and Trickstars. And to deal with all 3 decks, and maybe a couple of ABCs here and there, we have Drone Lockbird for Hand Trap lineup. We need this card just because Drone Lockbird shuts down the combo searching from the quick fixes, from when they use Resort. Basically, you just end their turn as soon as possible before they make something that you can't deal with. Trickstars, you don't get to ditch your entire hand, or maybe you can stop your opponent from searching up to the point where they can rip your hand apart. And for the Pendulum Magicians, they do have a ton of searches, whether it be from the Duelist Alliance, whether it be from their, what's that guy? What is a Pensork or whatever. I'm not even sure if they play Pensork, but like there's a ton of cards that they do search out and you want to stop them from even getting that far. Right, Double Iris is the one I was thinking of. Next up, we have more search stoppers, Triple Ash. This card needs to get reprinted into a super as soon as possible, hopefully sooner than later, but this is something that we need to stop because it is, well, we need to stop your opponent from playing cards. Basically all decks energy, and with the best hand trap maxi that will get negated half the time by this now. There's tons of things to stop with this now. So anyways, into the spell lineup. Some of you guys might not agree with me, but I'm playing Triple Duality. It's really good first turn. It's really bad if you open multiples in your first turn because the chances of you using Duality during your next turn is very slim because you will have already special summoned during the standby phase. That's just the truth because you're going to be using your effect during your opponent's turn, and guess what? Your Duality is no longer activated. But I'm still playing 3-up because I like digging the cards, find the one I need. If I can dig for a snow, I would go for the snow. Yeah, but it's just a flexibility. It's like a flex filler. We have a pair of Desires. As much as I don't like banishing in my 1-ofs, just the extra card advantage is still worth it for this card for now. For now, I might change it up. I hope there's more Weather Painter support coming. Of course, now into the weather spells and traps. Let me just cover one generic effect that they all have, is that they offer effects onto the zones in front of it, and you can only control 1 copy of whatever canvas that you control. So there's that. They offer something pretty interesting to the monsters. It's that they give their effect to the monster. So I'm just to read the top part here. The weather effect monsters in your main monster zone in front of this card's column and its adjacent columns gains this effect. So it gives them quick effects to activate, and then when they pay cost, it's just you treat it as a monster effect basically. So if you have a sun here, a cloud here, and a thunder here, let's put this stuff down. All 3 of these have the ability to search using this effect, which is pretty neat. Alright, so back up here. This one is the search card. Normally, if you go into summoning a snow, what happens is you're going to summon snow. This gets activated straight from the deck. You're going to activate this card's effect, or not this card's effect, but you're going to activate Snow's variant of this effect. Think of it like Zodiac. Remember all the effects of the Zodiac? The Zodiac monster gets the effect for the monster that's stacked under it. Same idea. So you're going to activate Snow. Snow gets this. Snowy Canvas's Snow effect, banish and search another card. And then by standby phase, Snow comes back in defense mode, and you have 2 cards. So it's like a +2 if you use Snow with this. Next up, I run 1 Rainy Canvas, because Rainy Canvas, when you banish this card, when you banish the monster that has this effect, basically, target 1 spell trap your opponent controls and then return it to the hand. Really good for end phase just spell back row control. And that's it for the spell lineup for the canvases. There is another one that I'm not playing because I haven't really experienced good things with it yet, but you guys can argue against that. I play triple terraforming for the triple diagrams I'm playing because you want to search out anything and you want the popping effects anyway. For the True Dracos, I only run 1 and 1, 1 Heritage and 1 True Draco Phoenix, just because you don't exactly have that much True Draco stuff to deal with. And I'm considering also running True Draco Phoenix Maria Moon, or whatever her name is, just because you can actually get a double search, and the double search actually is quite good in this variant of the deck. And that basically covers the True Draco lineup for spells. And for traps of the weather stuff, we have 2 Thunder Canvas and 1 Auroral Canvas. I like this card. I like to surprise my opponent with this card a bit more, but it's really hard to surprise them because of the timing of Auroral Canvas. Auroral Canvas is when you offers the effect of banishing your monster to when your opponent adds a card in their hand. You can banish the card that they added, including drawing apparently, and then basically what happens is they have to banish that card and they draw a new card. And it actually affects both players too. So if you draw a card that you don't need, you can actually banish it, banish a card with it, and then you, I guess, get an next draw. But anyways, this card is very good, especially against like limited cards that they search off, like Quick Fix. But if your opponent knows what you're doing, they're not going to search for that Quick Fix against you. And yeah, that's not going to work out. But it's a good surprise factor that puts them under control, limiting their play. Thundery Canvas is a great battle trap. Well, at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, so battle meaning both ways, whether they attack or you attack, return, basically banish this card and return the opponent's monster back to their hand. But then during your standby phase, your monster comes back, so you actually just get rid of this stuff. Kind of like what's his name, Kieran, yeah, Kieran stuff. And finally, we have the 2 True Draco traps, just so that you can get some tribute summons, special summons, you name it, you can do it here. But that basically covers all grounds for this deck in terms of the main deck. So let's go into the extra deck. Now, starting off with the extra deck, we have 1 Weather Painter Rainbow. I actually am not very comfortable with this card. I can't really bring her out every single time I bring her out. It makes me want to play Soul Charge, mainly because she is very similar to the Spells and Trap. It offers effects to your weather monsters. But because you have to link summon her with a recipe of 3 weather monsters anyway, it just kind of gets rid of everyone. But the effect that she offers is very amazing because it basically turns all of them into a counter trap that negates everything. Although they're not counter trap, it's when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can banish this card and then negate the activation and then destroy that card. So it turns them all into like a Satellite Nova Alpha or something like that, or like an Infernity Barrier. Basically turns them all into barriers, and that's the alpha effects there. However, since you did just link summon off 3 of them, you don't exactly have anyone there. So that's why I want Soul Charge to go with this. Aside from that, she also is a Black Horn of Heaven. She can send her link summon body into the graveyard and summons it, and then negate the summon. There's that too. And she also can gain effects from the other weathery cards, because when she special summons herself back from the banished pile, she comes back and she no longer points downward because there's nothing that she can point to in this area. There's a point left or right, so unfortunately that's as far as she goes. That's just my thought on her. You can argue against it. Now for my Metatron targets, since if Metatron goes off, these are my 3 targets. We have my wind, we have my water, and we have my earth, and these are not light or dark. But if I get a monster heavy matchup, I'll bring up Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Against a generic matchup, or a card that I want to steal off my opponent, I might go with Totally Awesome. And if it's a spell trap safety play that I want to go into for a safety landing for my masterpiece or any of my bigger plays, or if I'm pushing for damage, I'll go with Exterio, just because Exterio can negate all spells and traps. But those are my choices. What are yours? I don't know. You can leave it down in the comment section below. Aside from that, in terms of my generic link monsters, I want to cash it since all my monsters are basically fairies or worms. I also have a pair of Proxy just to fill the space. I might change it up if there's better links, probably. 1 Gaia, because Gaia is a generic link 3. I have 1 Decode Talker, And red and blue dragon, firewall, and borrow load. For my rank, Xyz monsters, we have a rank 3 of Mecha Equip Engineer. Most of my monsters are level 3 after all, and Mecha Equip Engineer is just there to stall and protect. Next up, I have Leviair. Leviair potentially could revive a couple of monsters from the Banish Zone if you want early access to them, or you want them to come back a little bit earlier. But it is very unlikely that you actually summon this card. Acid Golem is just for beating for game, and we have the flex card of them all. We have Breaksword. Breaksword can actually pop a few cards. If you use Breaksword next to Cloud, you basically get a free pop. You just pop your own card and pop one of their cards. Cloud will go off, and then just put 2 more back onto the field. At least that's the way I think how it does. And that's basically it for my entire deck profile. If you guys enjoyed this deck profile, hit me up with a thumbs up. Remember, this is just a frame of reference. If there are certain things that you don't agree with, by all means change it. Change it to your comfort, right? Like, I don't want to force you to, like, any build upon anyone. And then, of course, if you guys like this video, want to see more stuff from MST.TV, hit that subscribe button. And this t-shirt is also available on my Design by Human store, I guess. You can check it out. I just did it for jokes. If you guys like an MST Negates shirt, by all means, you can get that thing down in the description below at the Design by Human site. And as always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please drop us a like so we know we are doing a good job, and you can also subscribe to MST.TV for more fantastic videos by clicking on the button on the left. Don't forget to check out our partners at Imperium Duelist. They make really high quality mats, including some of my own limited edition release stuff. And if you want to check out one of our past videos, click here on the right. As always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV, and I'll see you next time.